Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, today, January 8, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The continuing lies of Donald Trump and his imps continues regarding the tragic murder of that white woman in Minneapolis. They even sent out Vice President J.D. Vance to admonish everyone of blasting these left-leaning, violent domestic terrorists. Adam Serwer would join us from the Atlantic. He has a piece talking about how the smear effort immediately started from the Trump folks. Also, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett gets teary talking about that murder that took place yesterday in Minneapolis. Folks are still responding there as well, so we'll be breaking down what's happening there. On Capitol Hill, guess what? Donald Trump vetoed 2 bills that were passed unanimously. Republicans are so scared of him, they wouldn't even override his veto today. But the Democrats did force Republicans to join with them. 9 of them did, and they passed a 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Now it goes over to the United States Senate, and so we'll see what happens there. It's a whole lot we're going to be getting to, and so it's time for us to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time, and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin.
Tragic shooting of a woman in Minneapolis, Minnesota, by an ICE agent. They say that particular agent has been treated and is now spending time with his family. Now, remember, yesterday they claimed that, he was being hospitalized, but we saw video of this man walking around like it was no big deal. Now, what we also hear is that the feds have told Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota to butt out of the investigation. DHS Secretary ICE Barbie Kristi Noem spoke at a news conference, and she talked about and she really gave us alternative facts in this case. Listen to what she had to say, especially regarding, remember she talked about the snow, how they had to dig themselves out of the snow. The video totally contradicts her, but this is her today.
Yes. Minutes ago, the head of Minnesota State Investigations Agency said that they had been cut out of the investigation into the fatal shooting in Minneapolis. Can you explain that reversal?
I'd like to know where they've been and why they're not out on the streets investigating all of these people that are harassing and inciting violence on law enforcement officers right now. They're allowing the situation to be volatile. They're not doing their work. They haven't for years, and maybe they should get to work a little bit on the unprecedented fraud that we've seen in Minnesota and in Minneapolis by people that stole from American citizens and diverted funds away from vulnerable people and programs and services that they needed and put it into their own pockets. Minnesota is a train wreck. It is corrupt, and it was under the leadership of Governor Walz and this mayor that they allowed it to happen, and they let criminals and illegals and people abuse programs and steal the money, and now they're allowing violence to go forward on the streets as well.
This also finds the Minneapolis Police Department county sheriffs, the federal authorities at this point, they don't want.
I won't put a blanket statement out like those other individuals will. What I would say is I welcome them to come and help us. Come help us make sure that the streets are safe, that laws are enforced, and that we can do the right thing to make sure that American citizens come first.
Yes. Director Russo spoke about how this operation happened discreetly under the cover of darkness, and that's how it should be, which is in contrast to what happened in Minneapolis yesterday. You said
what do you mean in contrast to
that
what
was
happened?
very not very much not undercover
because of the
darkness.
protesters and the violent
Well, so
criminals
my
that were
question for
attacking
you
our
is,
law enforcement.
you
If you
had
remember in that operation,
Yeah.
what happened was our officers were out trying to get a car stuck out of the snow when they were surrounded and assaulted and blocked in by protesters that were inciting.
The officer was following his training.
He did follow his
wondering,
training
does
because of an
firing two
individual
shots
that was
point blank into a driver's window. Is that part of the training? How is that self-defense?
This is an experienced officer who followed his training, and we will continue to let the investigation unfold into the individual and continue to follow the procedures and policies that happen in these use of force cases. But let's remember the events that surrounded what happened yesterday on that tragic situation was that these individuals had followed our officers all day, had harassed them, had blocked them in. They were impeding our law enforcement operations, which is against the law. And when they demanded and commanded her to get out of her vehicle several times, she did not. So we'll continue to allow this process to unfold and recognize that these law enforcement officers every single day put their lives on the line. They go out and do their jobs. They go out and
Terrorist, though, without an
this was an act of domestic terrorism, which is perpetuating
no investigation into who she was or what she was about, and yet now you're saying
these
you can't
policies
speak
and
about the incident
procedures that
because of
follow
it.
a use of force situation like this are continuing to be put in place. So this is standard operating procedure after every use of force situation is that we follow these procedures and protocols. This situation is no different.
Ice Barbie was lying, y'all. Look right here. This is a memorandum that was that took place under the Biden administration. It is dated May 20th, 2022. It went to the director of the FBI, the administrator of the DEA, the acting director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the director of the United States Marshal Service, the director of the Bureau of Prisons, and the Inspector General, Office of the Inspector General from Attorney General Merrick Garland. It says Department's updated use of force policy. It lays out right here exactly what they are supposed to do. In that use of force policy, it dictates that they are not to fire on a vehicle. She's lying. They didn't follow policy. But you notice how she ran roughshod over the journalists who were asking questions, and the whole point is throw out as many lies as possible. And so now all of a sudden they're attacking her domestic terrorist, a far left lesbian. I mean, you name it, they're throwing it about. Staff writer Adam Serwer of The Atlantic wrote this piece. It says, first the shooting, then the lies. The Trump administration has perfected the smear campaign. He joins us right now. Adam, glad to have you back on the show. That's exactly what this is. And we see what's going on here. And their entire goal here is try to shove out as many lies as possible to overwhelm the system. And that's why they sent out not just Carolyn Leavitt, Trump's a chief liar, but they sent out Vice President J.D. Vance to push the lie even further.
Yeah, I mean, Roland, this is basically the same playbook that they use when an unarmed Black person is killed by law enforcement. They try to assassinate the character of the victim in order to justify killing them. And what's interesting, however, is that you see Noem just sort of making things up that didn't happen and aren't on the video. This idea that they were being surrounded by ICE protesters, so they were frightened and simply had to use lethal force. The reality is that law enforcement are trained not to fire at moving vehicles because it's dangerous. It can cause more danger. You can hit a bystander. If you hit the driver, the car can go out of control and hit more people or possibly other officers. So what we're seeing here is sort of the standard playbook for, used in the aftermath of police shootings of unarmed Black people, but it's being deployed by the federal government against a white woman who they're accusing of being a domestic terrorist or, attacking her politics. We don't even know what her politics are, to be honest. They're just saying that. There's no reason to trust what they're saying when they're describing her political ideology to justify killing her. And it's really, it's rather striking because the video is there. We can all see it. That was a completely unnecessary shooting that took place. And now we see the federal government, essentially justifying the murder or the killing of an American citizen by an armed agent of the state who is paid by our tax dollars.
This is what you actually wrote here, and you said, administration officials' indifference to facts, to due process, to the dignity of the deceased, and to basic human decency is remarkable. They could have pleaded for patience and said the incident will be investigated, the standard response in such circumstances. They could have even done so while defending the federal agents they have deployed to terrorize areas they perceive as Democratic Party enclaves. Instead, they proceeded to make ostentatiously dishonest statements that they knew would be contradicted by the video evidence available with eyes to see it. Now, Donald Trump gave an interview with the New York Times. Remember, he immediately defended the officer, made up lies about how the officer was hurt, almost killed, was getting all sorts of treatment. Yet when the New York Times showed him the video and he's sitting there watching it with them, he backed off of that statement.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he said the officer was run over. There are things that they are saying about this incident that are just objectively false, even if you're someone who thinks that the officer acted rationally or was justified. The things that they are saying about the circumstances of the shooting are completely false. Things like, there was a riot, or there were rioters, or they were being blocked in by protesters, or that she ran over the officer. That simply did not happen. And it really, I'm not really sure what to make of the fact that Trump described the video incorrectly, simply because he's dishonest so often that it's hard to know if he, didn't actually look at the video or before it was shown to him, whether he, relied on somebody else's description. He did post the video in one of his posts, but, people post video on the internet all the time without really looking at the video. So it's really hard to know what he's thinking. But it sort of doesn't matter. They are smearing this person. They are trying to destroy her memory the same way that they often do in the aftermath of police shootings of Black people. It's really an extraordinary example of how this stuff is never limited to the vulnerable communities on which it is originally practiced.
You're absolutely right. And again, what's amazingly laughable, this here is the video right here. I'm playing it. And she's like, oh, they were stuck in snow. And we can see the video. We can see literally the truck pulls up and they get out of the car. And then this other ICE agent, comes around and then he fires the shot. He fires 3 shots. And then they're like, oh, my God. Oh, he was run over and attacked. And then we also know, to your point earlier, you saw how that car slammed into other cars. And then they refused to render aid. They would not allow a doctor to come and treat her. They would not allow the paramedics to come. The paramedics had to get out of the ambulance, run there to actually administer aid. They made no effort for 15 minutes. And their whole deal, they got this video of the officers laughing about it and patting themselves on the back.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the interesting things about this incident is that the federal government has consistently lied about the circumstances of confrontations between federal immigration agents and bystanders or people they're arresting. They have tried to charge people with assault many, many times and been unable to get an indictment because the facts don't fit the hyperbolic descriptions made by, public officials from the Department of Homeland Security or elsewhere in the Trump administration. The fact is they make things up. They lie to justify the use of force. And I think to some extent, the message that they want to send here to the American people is if you have the wrong political beliefs, not only will we defend someone, an armed agent of the state who kills you, but will imply that you had it coming because of your political ideology, whether or not you actually subscribe to that ideology at all.
And again, she's sitting here calling this domestic terrorism with nothing to back it up. Now, it's amazing all these people who jumped out there talking about, nothing's going to happen to this officer. The shooting was justified. And I'm sitting there going, how can you just sort of make these statements? we know Donald Trump is not going to let the federal authorities do into this guy, but we also don't know if this guy could be charged by the state. Yet Stephen Miller had no problem going on Fox News, making it perfectly clear, ain't nothing happened to this guy. Listen to this.
But what we need to reassure, a couple points. To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice.
Adam, his was very interesting. Yesterday, there was a high school where they lit out for the day. And what did the ICE agents do? They decided to show up, go on school property, and they started attacking the students, spraying them with pepper spray and things along those lines. The reason we're seeing these type of actions, and not just in Minneapolis, but we're seeing these actions take place. We've seen it in Los Angeles, in Chicago, and so many other areas. It's because of that Stephen Miller bite. Donald Trump said during the campaign, 100% immunity. What they've said is, it doesn't matter what you do. We are not going to hold you accountable, so you can show your ass as much as you want to.
Yeah, look, the country of the United States of America was founded on opposition to arbitrary executive power and abuses of power. So, you know, to a certain extent, this really sort of refutes the basic principles of the founding of the country, however hypocritical they were at the time. I think, you know, one of the things that Stephen Miller tried to do, it's not actually true that officers have absolute immunity in the conduct of their duties, number one, but he's telling them that because he wants them to get as violent as possible, because the purpose of these deployments is a kind of execution of political violence against areas of the country that Trump perceives as insufficiently loyal to him. You know, but the other thing I would say is that, you know, this, you know, people should not be intimidated by this. They should continue to express themselves peacefully. They should continue to oppose the federal government peacefully, and illustrate the extent to which the government is now in the hands of people who do not believe in the basic principles of democracy. And, you know, something you said earlier, Roland, was that, you know, Trump was not going to let the feds investigate this properly. Well, it's not supposed to be that way. Criminal federal investigations are supposed to be independent of the White House. It's not supposed to be the president deciding who's guilty and who's not guilty when someone potentially commits a crime. So that sort of fundamental corruption of the American legal system and due process is something that, you know, we have accepted far too easily. That is sort of, you know, something that is stated as though that's the way things are supposed to be, and they're not supposed to be that way. If they were that way in any other administration, it would be a huge scandal. And yet, for some reason, you know, because of the sheer volume of corrupt abuses of power perpetrated by this administration, we let something like that pass, you know, without comment.
Well, and Adam, final point here, when you're dealing with a completely corrupt and immoral person, then you get this here. And frankly, the Supreme Court helped Trump in this way. This is what he told them. Trump lays out a vision of power restrained only by, quote, my own morality. He literally said to him that he can do whatever he wants. Right here, he says, asked in a wide-ranging interview with the New York Times if there were any limits on his global powers. Trump said, yeah, there is one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It is the only thing that can stop me. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people. His position is clear. I will do whatever the hell I want to do. And to your point, these punks, these Republicans in Congress don't give a damn, and they would never allow Biden, Obama, Clinton, Carter, if we could go on to have that type of power.
Yeah, I mean, Roland, you know, not even King George III, the tyrant that, you know, the original founders rebelled against, was an absolute monarch. He had parliament. So what Trump is asserting is a level of arbitrary, tyrannical power that that is more extreme than what the founders themselves rebelled against. And these are the people who consider themselves, admirers of the founders and defenders of the Constitution. They don't believe in anything but their own power and their own and their own ability to hurt other people, to get whatever they want.
Absolutely. Folks need to your point, this has to be opposed. And we talk all the time. Elections have consequences. And this is precisely why people can't sit this out. And, Adam, last point, I'm going to sound like a Baptist preacher saying a last point. I had some dude, I was commenting on the page, and I had some dude go, this ain't got nothing to do with us FBA people. And I said, no, you're an idiot. It does. There was a black man in Los Angeles on New Year's Eve who was gunned down by an off-duty ICE agent when it came to them firing some shots outside of the home celebrating the new year. We've seen individuals with legal status who have actually been held for 20, 25 days. There have been black people who have been detained. So it's stupid for anybody claiming to be foundational Black American, B1, or whatever all these damn titles to act like, oh, this is not impacting us. It's only impacting those African immigrants. It's only impacting those Latinos. No, what these people are doing, they don't give a damn. And as I said last night on last night's show, it was black people who were being detained in the cold, who had zip ties on their hands in Chicago when they rappelled down a building, and not a single person in that 2 a.m. raid was charged. And so they are terrorizing not just undocumented immigrants, they're terrorizing black people, FBA people as well. And so we better cut this bullshit out, acting like, oh, this ain't our business.
Yeah, well, look, Roland, everything they say about Somali immigrants, everything they say about Haitian immigrants, everything they say about African immigrants or people from the quote unquote third world, which is their favorite euphemism, they mean that about all black people everywhere. There isn't some magic line that they're going to consider African American people different from Caribbean American or people who have immigrated from West Africa. They don't care. Okay, like their vision is of a country in which they are the perpetual ethnic majority, and because of that, they consider anyone who is not exactly like them in their presence to be a threat.
Absolutely, folks. Adam Serwer with the Atlantic. Adam, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks. There's been just so much that has been going on today. Regarding this particular story in Minnesota. The governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, spoke about these state agencies being blocked from participating in this investigation. This is what he had to say.
We've also spent a lot of time talking last 24 hours about accountability. That means no function of government operates with impunity. It means when someone's in a position of authority and they commit any act that impacts our people, there has to be another place to turn to get justice. Checks and balances. Basic idea, the center of the formation of our country. It's the only measure that protects us from the abuse of government or federal overreach or tyrannical government. Yesterday, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the BCA, spent the day yesterday attempting to get that accountability. We have learned that the Trump administration has now denied the state that ability to participate in the investigation. And I just want to make this as clear as possible to everyone. Minnesota must be part of this investigation. These are nonpartisan career professionals that have spent years building the trust of the community. There's a BCA Force Investigations Unit that was created by the legislature, by the people of Minnesota, to provide an independent, consistent, and trusted mechanism for investigating the use of force incidents involving law enforcement officers. Minnesota has seen our share of these. And what you've seen is, and I have witnessed it during my time, that these professionals have risen to the moment. They are trusted by people. People who are not by inclination trusting of law enforcement or government have come to see the professionals at the BCA as true arbitrators that can get them justice. The unit is the result of years of scrutiny, public engagement, and bipartisan legislative action. Minnesotans have made it clear time and again they expect transparency through this process where a police officer uses deadly force. The BCA, Superintendent Evans, have earned that trust by delivering on that expectation. I think it's clear to everyone as they saw this that it feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because...
So, folks, that was, again, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
Judgment from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even know.
All right, folks, that was Minnesota Governor Tim Walz there. Things got very emotional on Capitol Hill today. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett really challenged Republicans on this issue and said so many Democrats were disturbed by this woman being gunned down, and Republican response is pretty much callous and indifferent.
It is so hard to sit here sometimes because I didn't come to Congress to write laws or to do things that are hurting people. I'm just asking if there's any decency or heart or courage on that side of the aisle. The fact that a woman was killed, she was shot in her head, and y'all are pretending like nothing happened. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you remember what our response was? Our response wasn't to sit there and pretend like it was okay. Is it okay because you have a badge? Because the last time I checked, allegedly no one is above the law. Can y'all not just have a little bit of courage and humanity? A child. A child has lost her mom. And y'all want to pretend that it is okay. I am asking if there is anyone that will stand for the very people that elected us and sent us to Congress. You tell us things like, well, the immigrants are bad. And so we got to get all these bills because the immigrants are the ones that are causing the harm. They're bringing the crime. The mayor of Minneapolis told y'all to get the fuck out. Yet y'all are the ones, it is this administration that is bringing crime to their streets. That's what's happening.
It's the third incident where somebody has dropped an F-bomb in this committee, including the video.
I'm sorry.
Including the video that we had to watch earlier.
Are your princess ears okay?
Is it profanity?
Well, you're
princess
more
ears
upset
offended.
about my words than you are about the fact that a woman
Are you
is
soft?
dead.
House of Representatives.
The gentlelady
Are we offending your princess ears? Are they that soft?
All members will
Maybe some of the kids out there.
Mr. Chairman, it is the gentlelady's
You're killing
time.
them.
Kids.
It is the gentlelady's time. Let's let her have her time.
It is the gentlelady's time. Would you stop the clock for a moment? Okay, and I'll restore that. The chair will remind all members that the person controlling the time is not to be unreasonably interrupted. We would further admonish that whenever possible to express the full meaning of something, it be done so without an expletive that may be offensive to people here in the audience or those who watch this on television. I understand that a quote at times is essential, but I would admonish everyone that it has been the practice of this committee for the many years I've been here to use such things as F-bomb in order to get the message out without actually using the word. Notwithstanding that, the gentlelady will be recognized for this time plus an additional 20 seconds. The gentlelady may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Long story short, we are sitting in judiciary and no one on that side of the aisle seems to care that this particular person, whose name we don't know at this point, became the judge, jury, and executioner. I don't know how you square that. And then we're sitting here literally in markup for a bail funds bill. When I first ran for office, it was in the midst of yet another lynching by law enforcement in Minneapolis. At that time, it was George Floyd. I remember working as a pro bono criminal defense attorney to help protesters that were being arrested. There were more than 600 protesters that were arrested in Dallas. There were churches that came together to make sure that there were bail funds. There were nonprofit organizations. And to explain how it works for bail, since we're in judiciary and we're writing the laws, and some people may not understand this, but those bail funds, those nonprofit organizations are not the ones that determine whether or not somebody gets bail. What they do is they help out poor people, which I know y'all are not interested in either. But they help out people that aren't rich and famous and have limitless amounts of money, like all of the Epstein defendants who somehow y'all can't find, even though y'all went and got Maduro. But it helps out those people to be able to get out of jail. Many of those people that if they spend just a couple of days in jail will then be thrust into straight up poverty because they will lose everything. Why it is that you want to criminalize people such as churches that are trying to help the poor because they understand what the Bible says, and they don't just say that they understand it or say that they love Jesus, but they decide that they actually put it into works because faith without works is dead. That is wrong too. And I'm here to tell you that there's going to be a lot of nonprofit organizations that are going to step up in this moment, because there are going to be protests around this entire country because of the state-sanctioned execution that we all saw unfold, unless there is some kind of justice that takes place and we get the name of that officer and that officer is prosecuted. So I ask that law enforcement, we have oversight over them. I am the oversight ranker. Let's go ahead. In fact, I make a motion that we have a hearing in the oversight subcommittee as it relates to this particular issue and what took place.
That was Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. This has angered so many different people in so many different ways. And former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura is weighing in, saying he is so pissed off with what's going on that he actually may run again for governor. And he had a lot to say to Donald Trump. Check this out.
No audio.
All right, so I got to again having some slight audio issues. I'll fix that. But Ventura, he called Trump a rich white boy and said we're living in a third world country. So I have that video for you in just a second. I want to bring in my panel right now. No, they can't wait to weigh in, and so let me welcome to the show, as we always do on Thursdays, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University. Glad to have Greg back. First time in 2026. Greg, good to see you. Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show, Sirius XM Radio. Glad to have you on the show as well. Dr. Nola Haynes, of course, Georgetown University School of International School of Foreign Service. Glad to have all three of y'all here. Let me start with you, Reese. It's been a whole lot that's been going on. It's just been literally crazy what has been happening. And just as Adam said, the lies have been coming just full tilt from these wackos in this administration. But that's what they do. They're following the liar in chief. He lies, they lie, and they say, what the hell? And MAG is so dumb, they believe the lies.
Well, yeah, I mean, they want us to believe in alternate reality, and what they should really do is be embarrassed. We know that this administration has no shame, but typically you would hear measured responses out of DHS, out of the White House. If you didn't have degenerates running the country, you have Beavis and Butthead, Ren and Stimpy, and I can't even think of an insult for Kristi Noem. She's just a bitch. And so you have these people of very low moral character who are essentially saying that white lives don't matter. Because this was a white woman who was a U.S. citizen who was gunned down by a person who has zero jurisdiction over U.S. citizens. ICE is not law enforcement. And that is something that I want every single Democrat to repeat. And that is something that I want the media to make very clear. ICE is not law enforcement. ICE is immigration enforcement. Immigration enforcement does not have jurisdiction over American citizens. They do not have jurisdiction to dictate a traffic stop. They do not have jurisdiction to pull somebody out of their vehicle. And they for fuck sure do not have jurisdiction or immunity to shoot a woman in the head as she's driving away. This ICE agent escalated the situation by stepping in front of the vehicle, by trying to physically assault Renee. And then he turned around and murdered her in cold blood. And as opposed to doing the proper thing, which is say that there will be a thorough investigation, there will be accountability, and trying to distance themselves, they are cheerleading it on because they want to empower their white nationalist vigilante militia to go around and targeting anybody. And if you're a white person that gets away with their white nationalist agenda, then your ass is grass too. That's why I've been calling this Trump crow. That's why I've been calling this Trump crow, because it is not just an attack on Black citizenship. It is an attack on every American that does not fall in line with the white nationalist billionaire trillionaire agenda. And unfortunately, a woman who is a mother who now leaves orphans behind has paid the ultimate price. She was not a radical. She was not a terrorist, which apparently now all of a sudden they recognize terrorism after just rewriting history on January 6th a couple days ago. Now all of a sudden they want to say that a person is escalating it, as opposed to when they were blaming the cops in January 6th a couple days ago. So there's no intellectual consistency. The only thing that's consistent in here is cruelty is the point, depravity is the point, and white power is the point.
What we're witnessing here, Noah, is simple, and that is what Trump wants. He wants the TV show. This is all about a television show. It's all about this is a live version of 48 Hours. The media budget for ICE is crazy. They got their own cinematic cameras there, and they're dropping all of their creative videos. And so what they're saying to their white base, look at us. We are rounding these people up and throwing them out of the country. That's what all this is about. And listen, Fox News is driving the propaganda arm, conservative talk radio, the digital people. That's what all this is. It is all about driving this whole notion, this idea that we are running these brown people out of the country. And so you name it. So whether you are Somali, any African nation, if you are Venezuelan, Mexican, whatever, we're running these people out because we want this to be for us. It is absolutely about whiteness.
Absolutely. It is performative strength. And this is what happens when you get a reality star rolling down the escalator, announcing his presidential aims and goals. And so we have not left this horrible, horrible reality show that we are all forced not just to watch, but to also participate in. And, I want to say something about the way that this administration, not just Trump 2.0, but also Trump 1.0, the way in which he uses terrorism as a legal justification for enacting whatever sort of crude national security foreign policy this regime has in mind. And one of the reasons why I say that this is performative, and to your point, Roland, when you look at statistics, the amount of folks that are being sent out of the country, the numbers are actually not that far apart from the last administration. So all of this performance, all of this fear of having the ICE officers in their gear, and their guns and all of this stuff, it is definitely meant to scare communities into compliance, right? These are not the acts of leaders who are America first because they shot an American in cold blood in her face for us all to see. And for the folks that were so worried about Jasmine Crockett dropping the F-bomb, how do you think those kids felt when they saw all those videos on TikTok and Instagram? Because when I first saw that video yesterday, there was no warnings. Those kids that congressman was so worried about hearing the F-bomb saw that lady get shot in her face and in her head. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about the kids seeing. I could care less if Jasmine Crockett is dropping the F-bomb in Congress. More F-bombs need to be dropped in Congress. All of this is so upsetting, Roland. You know, my week started off with the 1-6 hearings on the Hill. They were emotional. I sat there and I watched Nancy Pelosi the entire time, Roland. I watched this woman sit there for hours while she listened to testimony, while she testified. And that woman got up there and she said, I still pray for Donald Trump. This man who has done everything in his power to make her life a living hell and the rest of us, our lives a living hell. So all of this is taking a collective toll. And that's what I felt from Jasmine Crockett today. She said what we wanted to say.
But the whole thing here, Greg, is, again, it is this. That's also by design. It is to completely this is sensory overload. So whether it is Venezuela, it's everything that they're doing, every policy decision, Doge, the cut, all of this sort of stuff. It is saying we're going to wreck all of this. And I was texting an anchor, was texting someone who works for a network, and this person was saying how this is so hard for mainstream media to keep up. I said, no, actually it's not. I said, because you got these 24-hour networks. I'm like, y'all can talk about more than 2 or 3 things on one day. Like, we don't have to have every show talk about the exact same thing every hour for the whole day. And that's part of the deal. And so they know how media works. And so the morning shows, and the show at 9 a.m. and at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. and noon and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the primetime shows are going to be talking about the exact same story in the same way, as opposed to examining all of these different facets and how these people are undermining the Constitution, undermining democracy, how they are attacking different people. And one of the greatest failures to what we see is a media that absolutely is abhorrent. You've got people who are whoring themselves to do the bidding of Donald Trump. You got these corporate interests who are all about their stock price and their other deals and their theme parks and their packaging companies and all that sort of stuff. They don't care. And so you used to have caretakers in media. The Sulzbergers of the New York Times and Catherine Graham at the Washington Post. And you had Paley at CBS. You had people, Golderson at ABC and Sarnoff at NBC, people who believe in the public trust. These folks kind of like, yeah, we don't want him looking at us because he's going to criticize us.
That's right. That's right, Roland. Is my sound okay? Can you all hear?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, good. Just want to check. I'm very much encouraged by these events. Not encouraged, of course, by the death of Miss Good. That's a true tragedy. When you think about her, we may look back at this and put her in the same breath as Viola Luiso or in Alabama or Andrew Goodman or Mickey Schwerner. Sometimes, unfortunately, white death is a trigger. And of course, this happened around a mile from where Big George Floyd, of course, lost his life. But let's be crystal clear about this. Let me start with our Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Please don't cry. That's what they want. There's no reason to cry. There's no reason to cry because these are not human beings you're dealing with. There's nothing to appeal to. So let's get out of this whole idea that we can appeal to some greater moral sense. You just heard a purebred clown, a racist, tell the New York Times, the pliant New York Times, that the world now bends to his morality. Donald Trump doesn't have any morality. It's an oxymoron. What we have to do now is reframe the narrative. So I think
Greg, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I want you to finish that. This is from ABC News. And so 2 people have been shot by federal agents in Portland. It says 2 people were shot by federal agents in Portland, Oregon on Thursday. Local and federal sources told ABC News the FBI is responding to the scene. federal agents involved in the shooting are with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, not Immigration and Customs Enforcement, according to sources. Craig, go ahead.
Thank you, Roland. And of course they were, and there will be more. There will be more. They will join an indefensible piece of a human being, a little man whose little tiny manhood sheathed by cloth over the top third and bottom 2/3 of his face. Jonathan Ross, as it is now being reported, USA Today, among other media sources over the last couple of hours, have reported that the enforcement operations officer identified the killer of Miss Good is named Jonathan Ross. And this isn't the first time that he has assaulted other people. And this doesn't have anything to do with citizenship either, y'all. Let's stop using that. Let's stop reframing this in terms of it was a U.S. citizen. It was a human being. Let's just level set on that. But what I really want to, us to spend a moment on, which is again why this platform is so important and why you should turn off all that commercial news, mass media entertainment crap, is this. This is all part of a larger strategy, as we said, not just to intimidate, not just to cow, but to set a set of forces in motion so that the response can then trigger another response. Let's go to the beer drinking Brett Kavanaugh on the United States Supreme Court, part of the MAGA 6. We saw a couple of weeks ago in the Trump versus Illinois case, where they said you can't use the National Guard. Kavanaugh wrote a concurrence separately. By the way, he also snuck a little footnote in his concurrence to say that you shouldn't be racially profiling. That's because he's mad because remember that case back in September, the Noem case, Noem versus Vasquez Perdomo, where he said you can racially profile, thereby leading to a label that apparently he hates, which is why I'm going to repeat it now. We should burn it into our vocabulary. Kavanaugh stops. That's what they're doing now. I'm going to stop you because you look a certain way. The Kavanaugh stops. He hates it. Well, go to hell, Bill Kavanaugh, Beer Kavanaugh. But he wrote a concurrence to slip in something they're going to bring back around. And that is, even as the Supreme Court said 6-3, they weren't going to pause the injunction that won't allow Donald Trump to put the National Guard in Illinois and Oregon and California. Kavanaugh wrote separately and said, but, maybe there might be a way to evoke, the Insurrection Act. See, what they want to do is put the U.S. military in these cities because they are engaged in a domestic war. Finally, let's pay particular attention to the fact that this strategy is designed completely pursuant to what that fool Steve Bannon said years ago, flood the zone with ish. In other words, we are now severing any ties with a standard that relies on facts. So what you hear, the ICE Barbie, the Botox Barbie cosplaying with her cowboy hat on, and then today continuing it saying is, there is no such thing as facts. What you hear that little Nazi cretin Stephen Miller doing is saying that there is no such thing as facts. Kill everybody you want. They're all drug dealers. They're sexual deviants. They're messing with children. And then when you say, no, they're not, here's the evidence. They're like, yes. And let me say again, they're messing with children. We have to now change the narrative. Congresswoman Crockett, don't cry. Call them what they are, Klansmen, Nazis, and let's roll over their political backs and crush those political backs. The rhetoric of reason has no place in this. This is a war. They have declared war on human beings. And the response in a war is to fight back.
Folks, going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk to a member of Congress. A lot of different things happened on Capitol Hill today, including Democrats forcing Republicans to vote on a bill to restore Affordable Care Act subsidies for 3 years. There's a bill by Congressman Lauren Underwood. We're going to talk about that. Also, Republicans have no courage whatsoever. They actually voted for two different bills, one of them dealing with a water issue in Colorado. Trump vetoed those two bills because he was pissed off at the Republicans, in one case, Lauren Boebert. And these fools wouldn't override the veto, but they passed unanimously. That's what happens when you have zero guts and zero courage. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
Some angry
angry pro-Trump mob stormed the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Melanie Campbell, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. And we are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered all day, every day, 24/7. Spread the word.
Folks, big happenings on Capitol Hill today. Democrats forced a vote on restoring the Affordable Care Act subsidies. This was the tally right here. It was 230 to 196. 17 Republicans voted for the bill. With the bill by Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. I made a mistake yesterday. I said her bill had 1 year of subsidy. It was actually 3 years worth of subsidies. Now it goes over to the United States Senate. There's no word of whether or not it's going to actually pass over there, but it does put pressure on Republicans, especially those senators who are running for re-election, because they're going to have to vote on this issue of restoring health care to their constituents. And you know what? You got folks in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Iowa, in Texas, who are all impacted all around the country by this. And so guess what? They now are going to have to deal with this. And so that was a huge, huge action taken today. Virginia Congressman James Walkinshaw joins us right now. Congressman, glad to have you on the show. This was an effort, this was first of all, a great move by Democrats. And I kept saying in 2025, the Democrats are out of sort trying to figure out how to respond to what's going on. And we saw with the Epstein files, that discharge petition. Now, here you had an issue, and Republicans were vulnerable by Democrats using the discharge petition. You go bypass the committees, you bypass Speaker Johnson, and you force them to actually vote on this. To me, there should be other affordability issues that Democrats should be eyeing in 2026 to force the same vote on other issues.
You're absolutely right, Roland. I mean, this was a big victory today. Credit to Congresswoman Underwood, leader Hakeem Jeffries, who really united Democrats around this fight for healthcare affordability. You know, we went through a shutdown where we kept the pressure on the Republicans to cancel their healthcare cuts. We took the argument to the American people across the country and highlighted the impact of allowing these tax credits to expire. And we got a big victory today. And you're right, the Senate should be feeling some pressure right now. What they should do is take up the bill, the 3-year clean extension, pass it and send it to President Trump's desk. It sounds like Republican leadership over there aren't going to do that, but that would be the smart thing for them to do. But you're absolutely right. We have to find other avenues over the course of this year to force Republicans to come to the table and join us and trying to make life more affordable for the American people. I think one way we'll be able to do that is with these tariffs. We know that Trump's tariffs are driving up costs for hardworking families, especially low or moderate income families who spend more of their income on, everyday goods and durable goods, and the tariffs are driving up those costs. We have discharge petitions on a bunch of those tariffs, and we're going to be pressuring Republicans to join us on those as well.
Well, another issue that we saw take place, there were a couple of bills that Trump vetoed, and it was crazy. They were passed unanimously by the House. He vetoes them. It was really about a personal thing, trying to get back at Republicans in this case. And then what happened? It needed 2/3 vote. Well, 35 Republicans crossed, 213 Democrats voted for it, but it didn't get the 2/3 vote. I mean, I keep saying it. The Republicans in the House are cowards. It passes unanimously, but you don't want to embarrass your king, and so you don't pass these bills. So screw the people in Colorado in the Beaufort district when it comes to water issue, and screw other Americans because you got a petty tyrant who's sitting in the Oval Office.
Yeah, I was on the floor for those votes and proudly voted twice to override the vetoes, and I was watching the Republican side, and sometimes it's just embarrassing to watch them. You can see the fear in their eyes, the fear of Donald Trump, and what they need to realize, and a handful of them are starting to realize, Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about them. He doesn't care about their policy priorities. He doesn't care about their political futures. Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump, but a lot of them seemingly are going to go to their political graves with their arms wrapped around Donald Trump, hoping that he'll love them back someday, and he just ain't going to do it.
So another action took place today. Now, again, we'll see what happens in the House, but on the Senate side, they actually voted, and several Republicans crossed the aisle and voted with the Democrats, limiting what Trump can do militarily in Venezuela. It passed 52-47. Now, granted, we know doggone well, he'll veto that. But that's a perfect example of, thank goodness you have 4 or 5 Republicans who are understanding that Congress has authority. There are 3 branches of government. There's executive, legislative, and judicial. These folks are now realizing, guess what? You're supposed to use your power, not let him do whatever he wants to do.
That's right. Look, the action in Venezuela was flat out illegal, violation of the Constitution. Huge credit to Senator Kaine from Virginia for getting that War Powers resolution moving in the Senate. We have a similar resolution that was introduced in the House today. It's a privileged resolution, so there will be a vote potentially next week on that in the House. And I'm hopeful, just like they had some Republicans in the Senate willing to break with Trump on this, that we'll have enough in the House. We only need a couple. And you're right, Trump will veto it, but that's still a major development for Congress to send a War Powers resolution restricting his authority to engage militarily with respect to Venezuela. Put that on his desk and force him to veto it. Very significant.
I've got panelists here. I want them to have opportunity to ask a question of you. Nola Haynes, you first. What's your question for Congressman Walkinshaw?
Thank you so much for doing the work that you all are tirelessly doing. So, on the messaging side of things, there's always this kind of group of folks who feel like Dems aren't doing enough. And then I am one of those folks who understand how legislation works. So I'm very curious, besides healthcare, which I know is a very popular policy for Dems, what else can folks like us be out there messaging to Americans who are looking for policies, not necessarily just anti-Trump everything, but that are looking for something forward, something else? So what else, in addition to healthcare, should we be out there talking about?
Yeah, I really appreciate the way you framed that. And, I think as you described, there's a lot of folks out there that want to see Democrats in Congress fighting, have wanted to see more of that. I think we've been delivering that over the last couple of months, but my dad was a boxer, and he used to tell me, the purpose of a fight is to win. Sounds like a simple thing, but some people don't seem to get that. So we also have to find some fights like this healthcare fight that we can fight and win and deliver for the American people. I mentioned rolling back the tariffs. I think that's an important fight. You're right. That's an anti-Trump policy. But I think this year, as we look to go to the voters in November in the midterm elections, you will see congressional Democrats coalesce around a coherent, consistent agenda around affordability. Yes, healthcare, extending the tax credits, but also things that we as Democrats want to do, which is, bring down prescription drug prices, get us closer to universal affordable healthcare for every single American, a minimum wage, a real living wage for every single American, more rights for working people so they can organize, come together in the workplace and get the pay and benefits and conditions that they need and deserve. I think we just need to do the things that Donald Trump said he was going to do when he campaigned, when he said he was going to bring down costs for everyday Americans, when he said he was going to deliver a better economy for working Americans. You and I know that was a lie when he said it, but a lot of Americans bought into it, and we got to actually take that out and deliver it in real ways.
Kristi.
Thank you, Congressman, for being here. What I'm seeing is a lack of information, like dashboards or something that's easy to kind of get your hands on to really explain the severity and the vastness of the situation. I think the Democrats did a really good job around the big, beautiful bill and kind of messaging, and even around the shutdown before, messaging how these subsidies are going to impact everybody's prices. Is there anything in the works that you can think of that will help really bring this closer to home for people who maybe are not on Obamacare, who are not on the exchanges, and who maybe feel like this is an issue that other people have to deal with that doesn't really impact them?
Yeah, look, it's a huge challenge with healthcare because our healthcare system is so complex in describing what different changes mean to different folks. I usually try to do it in the terms of, by sharing stories less than statistics and numbers. I talk about a constituent of mine who's here in Fairfax County, Virginia, 28 years old. He and his wife just welcomed their first child a couple months ago, so they're really excited for that. They get their health care from the Affordable Care Act exchange, and last year their premiums for the three of them, mom, dad, baby, was $800 a month, which is a lot of money, but they could afford it with some scrimping. This year, because of the expiration of the tax credits and other things Republicans have done to drive up healthcare costs, their premiums are $1,600 a month, and they can't afford that. So dad doesn't have health insurance as of today, so that they can pay for it for mom and their new baby. And those are the choices that Americans are making. So I think those stories that folks can relate to are probably the most effective way for us to drive the importance of this issue home.
Rick.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Congressman Arkansas. We saw, of course, that you and your colleagues moved some legislation, some of the appropriation legislation today, kind of, trying to forestall or prevent some of the stuff that might hit at the end of the month and perhaps another government shutdown. My question is pretty basic. How much do you think that Mike Johnson's very tenuous grip, we saw him scurrying out of the chamber after another vote that he couldn't prevent today, how much do you think his very tenuous grip on the speaker's gavel might be used as an asset by you and your colleagues to try to break up this Republican solidarity? I'm saying that because we know that there are the open seats in Texas and California, the death of your colleague, of course, LaMalfa. Taylor Greene's seat is up for, of course, election. And of course, there's Mickey Sherrill's seat in New Jersey. Are some of your folks on the other side of the aisle, perhaps, are they more vulnerable for you all to basically push at them to perhaps get some of them to chip away? And perhaps might we be looking at a Speaker Jeffries long before November if this continuing fracture keeps up and some of these people step out of Congress sooner rather than later?
Yeah, you really honed in on a critical dynamic here. And, before I get into the possibility of a change in power before the elections, as you, I think, hinted at, Speaker's tenuous control, not just his very narrow majority, but the fact that, look, generally, even at the White House, where it's been reported Trump laughs at Speaker Johnson, he's viewed as a very weak leader. That gives Democrats a lot of leverage. And I think you see that in the appropriations bills, 3 that were passed today, that rejected a lot of what was in Donald Trump's budget that he sent, that added protections for federal agencies and federal workers, a lot of whom that I represent, because Republicans are afraid of another shutdown because they know what it did to Donald Trump's polling numbers. We have a lot more leverage in those conversations and those debates and negotiations than we did last year. And you're absolutely right. I mean, given the narrowness of his majority, if you had more resignations, a couple more resignations, or anyone switching parties, or God forbid, any other significant life event on the Republican side, you could have an evenly divided House or even a narrow Democratic majority. We will have another special election in Texas that's likely a Democratic seat later this month. So we'll be adding a Democratic seat. You mentioned former Congresswoman, now Governor Sherrill as well. So a lot of moving pieces, and it could be a very unpredictable year in the House of Representatives.
Congressman Walkinshaw, last point I want to make here, and just tell me if you agree with this or not, and that is this. There were a lot of people who disagreed with me and others, and they said, that I was wrong to support the Democrats' action when it came to the federal government shutdown. And I said then, Democrats should not lift a finger. They should force Republicans to do their job. And I fundamentally believed that what the shutdown did was, I think what it woke Democrats up. It finally caused Democrats to find a singular issue. And also, I think probably right before that, what was happening with the Epstein files. Those two things, the Epstein files and that discharge petition and the shutdown, forced Democrats to look at what people were talking about and the issues. And what it did was it gave Democrats time to refine a healthcare message, tap into it, build resonance, where Republicans, independents were like, yo, what the hell is going on? And so while that was happening, you take the tariffs as well, how it's impacting all of these white conservative farmers in areas where they voted 65, 70, 75% for Trump. And so the shutdown in many ways gave House Democrats in the Senate your sea legs. And so now I think the thing is, how do you build upon that? Do you sort of you agree with that?
I think you're absolutely right. And, I was in a similar place debating with people before the shutdown. And I told people, look, the American people, if there's a shutdown, as ultimately there was, the idea that the American people won't blame Donald Trump for that shutdown was absurd. Donald Trump spent most of the year 2025 shutting down the federal government. I mentioned I represent 60,000 federal employees. Every neighborhood I represent, you have folks who have been fired by Donald Trump, who worked in federal agencies, entire agencies that were shut down by Trump before the technical shutdown that we had. So I knew that voters would blame Donald Trump, right? He's the guy that hates the federal government. Of course, he'd be very willing to shut it down if he doesn't get what he wants in terms of his cuts to the healthcare system. And I felt like, look, I didn't want to see a shutdown. My constituents, some of them went without paychecks through the shutdown. But Republicans made no effort to reach out to Democrats like me in those negotiations or conversations to say, hey, we don't have the votes on the Republican side, so we're going to need your vote. What's important to your constituents that we can consider here in this process? They just made no effort to do that. So I think you're absolutely right. It allowed Democrats to highlight the healthcare issue. It helped to unify us, and the country correctly blamed Donald Trump and Republicans for it.
All right, then, Congressman Walker-Shaw, we appreciate you joining us on the show. Look forward to having you back.
Thanks, Roland. Have a great night.
Thanks a bunch, folks. We come back. Ooh, the racism, the white supremacy of Megyn Kelly and Elon Musk is on full display. What do we say here? Hashtag we tried to tell you. We're going to talk about that next. Plus, we also got Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble. Folks, you want to support Black Star Network in this show, please do so by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. If you can't contribute that, you do less. We totally understand that. We appreciate it. If you can do more, we appreciate it. This is critically important because if 20,000 people give $50, it raises $1 million. It really offsets our costs, which are $195,000 a month. As I said, we've hired 4 new people in the past month. We are launching a new daily noon show. The end of this month. We're launching a weekly health show as well. We've hired an editor to transform blackstarnetwork.com, and you see the content on the site. You see how we are changing that. It's going to be a lot more robust as well, because our goal is to continue to build the preeminent Black news and information network in the country. Ain't nobody doing what we're doing, folks. And so we got to continue to keep driving as hard as we can to build this. So your support is critical. You want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's also for credit cards. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2037-0196. You got to give us some time, y'all, because, again, I check the mailbox every couple of weeks. We get the checks and money order. We got to open each envelope, sign the back, process them, take the picture, all that stuff. So it takes some time to get all that done. And a lot of the money orders cannot actually be taken with the photos. I have to physically mail those to the bank for them to be deposited. So again, we'll try to get them done as fast as possible. Let me go to break. Be right back.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Boy, you can always count on white folks showing us exactly who they are. Now, we've always known who Megyn Kelly is. When she made her comment on Fox News that Santa Claus was and is always white. When she made her blackface comment, not seeing anything wrong with that on NBC Today show. We all knew that. Well, since she got her independent show, you know, she got paid $69 million after she got fired at NBC, launched her own show, and oh my God, Sirius XM Radio signed her to a new deal. She's launched a media company. Oh man, she's a darling of the right, and she is going as hardcore right as she possibly can. White and right. She did an interview with Tucker Carlson. They were talking about Nick Fuentes, the self-acknowledged racist, white supremacist, anti-Semitic individual, misogynist. What the hell else we want to call him? This is the guy who Kanye West took to Mar-a-Lago to have lunch with Donald Trump. Yep, Trump had lunch with him. This is the guy who the CEO of the Heritage Foundation said, we got to have this kind of person in the party. So listen to what Megyn said to Tucker Carlson.
I had no problem with the fact that you interviewed Nick Fuentes, and you did it your way. And I happen to know, because I know you, and I know some other things about that interview, that you did it with a pure heart. It wasn't because you were in love with all of Nick Fuentes' messages at all. But I know you, and I understood, this is, you don't have to confirm or deny, but I thought you were very much trying to reach him with your main message that you say all the time, which is in the conservative sphere, on the right, we don't judge people by identity. You didn't say it this way, but we're not big on the N word and the other words that he's been calling people like Usha Vance, or even thinking about people that way, because that's what crazy leftists do with identity.
But it's
that's
anti-Christian too. I hate that.
As Christians do.
Yeah.
Okay, so that you tried. It didn't really work, but you tried. And I know your heart was in the right place, and it was a worthwhile exercise because he's a very interesting guy, let's face it.
Yeah.
He's obviously got some very extreme views, but he's very interesting and he's very smart. And on a lot of things, there is value to be derived from that guy's messaging. I'm sorry, but he actually has a lot of things he talks about that you're like, this is not a bad point about our country. Excuse his thoughts on race and Jews and the Holocaust and all that, obviously. Okay, so I was fine with your interview with Nick Fuentes.
Oh, he has such great things to say. Oh, well, you know, let's excuse the little racist things. Let's excuse the anti-Semitic things. Let's excuse the sexist things. But got some great ideas. Oh my God, he's a really interesting guy. Well, even the folks on the right were savaging her ass. This is a Media Ike story right here, where one of them called her Grandma Groyper, Megyn Kelly savage for singing the praises of Nick Fuentes. And you go through this article, it lays out all those different people, John Podhurst. Megyn Kelly is rotted to the core. And for what? Not even Wales. Then if you keep going, you'll see Benjamin, this dude, Ben Dominic, he's married to the insufferable Meghan McCain. If you think Nick Fuentes is brilliant, I'm honestly impressed that you have enough brain function to remember to breathe. Then you go down here, Dave Rubin, great move for Grandma Groyper to attach herself to Fuentes and Candace, meaning Owens. Is there anything she won't do for a click? Find out tomorrow. Then let's see here. It was this guy, Eon Miles Cheong, called her Grandma Groyper. And this other guy said, did she praise him for making the trains run on time? That's a reference to Nazis and Jews in Germany. Oh, this other person says, there it is. Some of us were so ahead of the curve here and got bashed for it, but it was always obvious to anyone willing to see. Well, we also knew it as well as Black people. Again, I don't think Megyn Kelly is anti-Semitic, but she knows what she's doing in the crowd she's trying to appeal to and placate. She's always been awful, always. She's just decided to descend lower and lower because her belief that it will financially pay off. This person here said, the drill ISIS tweet, but for internet Nazis. This Black conservative here, I'm starting to understand how the permission structure which enabled the Holocaust came into being. So many formerly reasonable people have decided to side with Nazis because it's easier and more expedient. This person says here, if our culture returns to a certain level of sanity, if ever, we must make sure that the people who drop their masks are not allowed to put them back on and carry on as if nothing happened. This person said, this quoting Nick Fuentes, Hitler did some good things. And then let's see here. Megyn Kelly has actually decided that she's done with the 90% of the normally Republican base. And for some reason, it's now in love and courting the 10% Groyper loathsome subculture. Godspeed. This guy here, Steve Guest, said, unreal. This person says, Kelly insists there's a lot of value to be derived from Fuentes' messaging. Is she referring to his exaltation of Hitler, his denial of the Holocaust, his insistence that Jewish Americans are conspiratorial traitors who deserve to be annihilated, or does none of that matter? Let's see, one more. It was never actually about, sure, you may disagree with him, but unity and don't cancel people. It was always about, quote, don't criticize the Stalin-loving Nazi I agree with. Megyn Kelly basically followed the Groyper trail already blazed by Michelle Malkin. Let's see, any more? Boy, they were just going in on her. Now, those are all right-wingers there. But you got to understand, y'all, racism is the point. Racism is the key, who they are appealing to. Let's take Elon Musk. Now, we know apartheid Elon is absolutely all about white supremacy. All he does is talk about on Twitter the fertility rates of white people, how they're collapsing in Europe and in the Western countries. He ain't talking about black people or Latinos. He's not talking about African countries. He's talking about white people. Well, Elon was just being his usual self. Check this out. So he's on his racist app. And then this person tweeted, white people have a simple choice to make: be conquered, enslaved, raped, and genocided while being called racist, reclaim our nations and our dignity while being called racist. It's that simple. This guy, a non-patriot, said the two options are clear. Elon Musk said yes. Then check this out. This guy tweeted, if white men become a minority, we'll be slaughtered. Remember, if non-whites openly hate white men while white men hold a collective majority, then they will be 1,000 times more hostile and cruel when they are a majority over whites. White solidarity is the only way to survive. That's what this particular person tweeted. Well, Elon said 100%. But that same thread, so I went to this person's thread. This is what this same person said in the thread. Jews love casting niggaboo women as the wise ones among whites in TV and movies. Total inversion of reality meant to degrade whites' common sense. Did I not tell y'all this 4 years ago? What did I say? White fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. See, here's the deal. This is the reality. And Pat Buchanan actually said this, that absolute racist. He said it 2 or 3 decades ago. And if you read Mitch Landrieu's book, and in fact, I did an interview with Mitch Landrieu. We're going to pull that clip where we talked about it. Mitch Landrieu put in his book, and he said, so Pat Buchanan said that, oh, if they become the majority, they're going to do to us what we did to them. Mitchell Andrew wrote, white people, they're not going to do to us what we did to them because black people have more humanity and they're far more Christian than we are. What you have to understand with this Megyn Kelly move, what Elon is doing, you have to ask, why are they appealing so hardcore to whiteness? Well, that's what Trump did the moment he descended those escalators. He was pressing the buttons of whiteness. He was understanding white fear. And so let's blame blacks. Let's blame Latinos. Let's blame these African immigrants. Oh my God, let's blame the Jews. Let's blame all these people, because this is what the Republican Party needs. And this is why Megyn Kelly is saying this about Nick Fuentes. This is why Tucker Carlson sat down with him. This is why the Heritage Foundation, the people behind Project 2025, embracing Nick Fuentes, because Nick Fuentes appeals to young white men. These are the young white men who feel discarded. These are the young white men who feel that DEI has took their place in society. And so they know that if they want to be able to win in the future, they've got to have young white men who are racially polarized to keep voting their way. That's what's going on. And so you get young white men, you get white women, and you get them voting at higher rates. And if white people are voting at higher rates, and black people are voting at lower rates, and Latinos are voting at lower rates, and then now you've got voter suppression, all these things going in, they say if fewer people vote, then we know we can win. But this is not new. This has long been their strategy. Because folks, if you understand history, and we've discussed this on the show before, that was a point when the Southern Baptist Convention did not oppose abortion. In fact, they passed a resolution that was pro-choice. But see, they were appealing to racism to get those Southern evangelicals to vote against their own interests and vote against black people. But then all of a sudden, damn, the Jim Crow thing really wasn't working as well as it was. And so that's when they flipped Paul Weyrich. They flipped to, let's make abortion the issue. But the undercurrent of these Southern evangelicals is still racism. So whiteness has always prevailed. So when Megyn Kelly goes, oh, we don't do like those leftists and look at people. Yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. Y'all look at color. Y'all look at gender. And Megyn, you a liar. And Tucker, you a liar as well. Yes, y'all do. Because you know who gave us the goods? Lee Atwater. Remember when those audio tapes were revealed and Lee Atwater said, yeah, we can't use the N-word. We can't use those things like we used to. So we can use other phrases that say the exact same thing and appeal to our voters in the same way. We just can't say nigger. We just can't say colored. We don't have the separate water fountains. Oh, but there are phrases we can use, such as, this is not Lee Atwater, but this is essentially Lee Atwater 2.0. If we just say woke, if we say CRT, if we say DEI, same meaning, same goal, different words. So it's no shock that we're seeing what we're seeing. And we're seeing the racists being who they are. Stephen Miller, white supremacist. I don't care what his wife says. He's a nutcase too. It's about race. And what I've been telling y'all, they want to defund Black America. They want to go after everything. So when you have one of these truly confused Negroes walking around in a MAGA hat, trumpeting Trump, do understand we've always had confused Negroes. Remember, we had folks on plantations who told massa when Black folks were trying to run away. We had Black people who were informing and snitching on Black people to the FBI and COINTELPRO. We've always had Negroes like that, and it still exists. But you know what happens? They all get their Negro wake-up call. Ask Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh, he's gotten his brown skin wake-up call with the racism he's endured running for governor of Ohio. And speaking, who wants to take him out? Who literally said, let's support the white Democratic candidate over Ramaswamy? Nick Fuentes. See, even the Republican Party's coloreds get their colored wake-up call. Let's go to my panel. Greg, I'll start with you.
Well, listening to you, I mean, you've laid it out. You've laid it out. And even as we get news from Ohio that little naughty white nationalist Mike DeWine has endorsed Ramaswamy, we understand that the floating signifier in all this, as you have said, is race. You know, it's interesting. I was trying to remember. Of course, we remember 2022, the 3-part series in the New York Times on the American white nationalist Tucker Carlson. At least one of the headlines, if memory serves me correctly, pursuant to what you just laid out, including the title of your book, is that Carlson was tapping into white fear. And this is where it becomes very important for us to reframe the narrative, as I was saying a minute ago. White nationalism is the mother's milk of white politics in this country, regardless of the political commitments other than white nationalism. It is the mother's milk. It is what has driven the Democratic Party crazy since the apex of the civil rights movement, chasing imaginary white voters. It is what has hamstrung the commercial mass news entertainment media. Instead of saying white, they have to say blue collar. Instead of white, they have to say working class. Instead of white, they say conservative. No, it's all whiteness. So when you hear Megyn Kelly, a white nationalist, referring and in conversation with Tucker Carlson, a white nationalist, that isn't surprising. And of course, as you said, the great replacement theory, you hear that as well. But when you hear Jesse Ventura, oh, my friends, when you hear Jesse Ventura, who came to prominence and in many ways foreshadowed Donald Trump as a clown becoming a chief executive officer, you could say whether it was Ventura or his wrestling buddy Schwarzenegger, either way. But when you hear Jesse Ventura say, maybe I'll run for a third term, we're a third world country. Hold on, dude. You said those things in the same phrase. What does that mean? You're still trying to tap into the imagery of the threat of the rising tide of color, even as folks might say in this moment, you're against Trump, like you were against the Confederate flag and maybe the Redskins nickname, but you want the votes of those white nationalists. Finally, the solution to this isn't continuing to use the same language. As Malcolm X said, you're speaking a language they don't understand. You've got to frame this, and ironically, or maybe it's an ancestral intervention. When you see Renee Good lose her life, you got to frame this as good versus evil. And if you go to war and a tear happens to fall out of your eye while you're swinging your sword like Congresswoman Crockett, fine. But there should be no tears when you are combating evil. This is good versus evil. And anybody who taps into whiteness as the mother's milk of your politics, I don't care what your other politics are, you're somebody who has to be fed, at best fed out of a long handled spoon. At worst, you must be politically destroyed. And that's where we have to be today.
Noah.
I want to talk to the Christians tonight. And but let me start here, Greg, about Crockett's tears. I am one of these women. I don't cry a lot. But if I do, it's usually out of frustration, and probably I'm using it as a device so I won't get up out of my chair and come and do you some physical harm. I didn't see her tears as kind of like a weak thing for her to do, or that she was crying for something, more than I saw it as her protecting her kind of like emotionality. You know what I mean? That's what I got from that. So thinking about her level of emotionality, I get upset when these folks invoke Christianity, because any version of Christianity that I know, and when I say I know from Greek to New English to the modern Bible, I'm not talking about, picking up your little pocket Bible and you read a few Proverbs. That's not what I'm talking about here. When I hear these people invoke Christianity, when I hear them wrap their racism light, their casual racism in the cloak of Jesus, that bothers me. When they themselves do not even want to confront the fact that we are talking about a brown man from the Middle East, because they have completely erased the reality of his actual lived life, that was dedicated to the poor. Let's not forget that. That is what Reverend Barber always reminds us of. So every single time when I hear one of these racists wrap this in a Christian cloth, I get angry. I get offended, and every single Christian should.
Kristi.
Well, I'll just say this, that these white racists are boring. They're redundant. It's very, very played out. I'm actually sick of them. I don't know how it's entertaining. They got the same script over and over again. These racists are going to be evil. They're going to rape, plunder, and pillage regardless. So if they want to sit up there and try to act like they're doing it because they're scared, that's bullshit. But if they are in fact scared, as they are empowered, as they are again pillaging and plundering the world, then good. Because you should not be allowed to sleep well. You should not be allowed to have an easy spirit doing the kind of demonic evil that they're doing. Regardless of your power structure, you should not be able to go about your day without looking over your shoulder as some of these fuckers are living in military housing. Good. That means that they are not comfortable. And that's the one small consolation in it. Now, they don't get a cookie for not being comfortable. They shouldn't be comfortable. But I'm actually happy to hear that even amongst all of the carnage that they cause, that it still ain't sitting right with them. Because I tell you what, if I had money like Elon, I would be fucking chilling. You wouldn't have a little bit of distress in my voice ever at any point. I wouldn't be retweeting no bullshit. I would be out somewhere meditating, popping bottles on a yacht somewhere, minding my fucking business, feeding the homeless. So the amount of distress that these people feel on a day-to-day basis is the only consolation that we have for the fact that they are depraved demons, barbarians that we are forced to coexist with on this world. And unfortunately, there aren't many indications that people are willing to stop them. Like Donald Trump said. And actually, that might be the truth for now. We'll see how long. The only thing stopping him is what's in his mind. And that seems to be the only thing stopping any of these people until the white people that their white lives don't matter because they don't have the income, they don't have the class, they don't have the whatever the fuck. Until those white people decide to side with humanity in the way that Renee Good did, in the way that Heather Heyer did, in the way that many others have done that have been victims of white supremacy, even though they're white. And white nationalism, even though they're white, until enough of those people rise up and survive, they're rising up against this white nationalism, then all we can do is take solace in the fact that they're very uncomfortable with what they're doing and that they don't think that they should be getting away with it. And they're shocked every single day that something hasn't happened to them that proves them right.
Folks, before I go to the break, I love it when you have a district attorney who doesn't give a damn. Larry Krasner held a news conference. You know, Fox News is trumpeting this, where he makes perfectly clear to the ICE agents, if you bring your ass to Philadelphia and you show your ass and act a fool, you are going to get convicted. I want to play this before we go to the break.
If any law enforcement agent, any ICE agent is going to come to Philly to commit crimes, then you can get the F out of here. Because if you do that here, I will charge you with those crimes. You will be arrested. You will stand trial. You will be convicted, whether it's in state or federal court. It's my office prosecuting it. That's how the law works. And you will do your time because Donald Trump cannot pardon you for a state court conviction. Do you hear me, ICE agents? Do you hear me, National Guard? Do you hear me, military? You're going to jail if you commit crimes in the city of Philadelphia. You will be accountable. The law applies to all of you. And I know that there are honest, decent, moral law enforcement officers out there by the bushel, including in ICE. This is not for you. This is for any one of your colleagues who thinks they are above the law.
The shorter version of that is FAFO.
That's my adopted hometown right there, baby. But let's be clear. It's a lot of rogue ass cops who are on the city forces too, who are with these cats. So Krasner is walking on razor's edge, particularly in a city like Philadelphia, where the ghost of the funky double racist Frank Rizzo still wafts through the air of South Philadelphia. And so, but Roland and Reese and Nola, that's what you have to say.
Period.
That white boy right there that killed Renee Good, that white boy, Jonathan Ross, his ass should have been wrestled to the ground and handcuffed by the Minneapolis police. And until that happens, that's where we are.
Well,
yeah, I mean, if we have a constitutional crisis already, so set it up. Let's go. They are coming to democratically led cities, pulling the puck cards of these democratic led cities, states. Use your jurisdiction. Colorado, remember how they removed Donald Trump from the ballot and took a Supreme Court to put his ass back on?
That's right.
Let's have this battle now. We talk the fucking midterms. That's 8, not 10 more months of them wreaking havoc. And then you got till January till you get a whole new motherfucker sworn in. We cannot depend on Republicans to grow fucking conscience or a spine. So set it up. If you lose, who gives a damn? Y'all willing to do fucking philosophical and rhetorical and fights just for the sake of saying that we're fighting? Now is the time. Prosecute these motherfuckers, arrest them, and then let the court sort it out. That's what you do. Just like they have no problem. They're prosecuting LaMonica McIver. They prosecuted that judge who ended up having resigned. She got convicted because of immigration. Let's have this battle now. Step up and let's duke it out with what you can do. And then force the Supreme Court or force whatever court to say, yes, that this administration can continue to act lawlessly. So far, they haven't been saying that, even though they gave Trump immunity. They haven't been saying that about other things. So now is the time. I don't know if now is not the time. I don't know when the time is going to be, but we need to start having this battle now.
And Congressman Seth Moulton went on Will Cain's show on Fox News. He talked about energy. This is the kind of energy you got to bring when you are in a battle.
Homan, talking about Tom Homan, you accused him of lying. You said in your words that what happened was not self-defense. This was murder. Speaking of the ICE incident in Minneapolis, the words are on the screen for anybody that wants to see that. Series of questions. Have you interviewed the officer, the ICE agent involved in the shooting?
No, but I've watched the video. Why are you so afraid?
No, I know you've watched the video. No, I know you've watched the video. Have you seen law enforcement reports?
Show.
Have you?
Why don't you just show it and let people use it or not?
See, Toe Wheel, show the video. Show the video. See, you got to bring. You got, as we say, you got to bring the funk. This ain't you, Reese. You know, you can't reason with these people. You can't sit here. You can't pray with them. You can't find common ground. No, you got to rain holy hell on that ass every single chance you can get. That's what you got to do. As simple as that. I got to go to a quick break. Reese, I know you got to go. I appreciate you being on today's show. Y'all listen to Reese every Saturday on Sirius XM Radio. We come back, our Shop Blackstar Network Marketplace segment. And then, of course, we got a headlines with Brittany Noble. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Blackstar Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Blackstar Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Blackstar Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory, attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
What's up? It's your girl, Tamika D. Mallory, and you are watching the Black Star Network.
Folks, there have been a lot of lawsuits saying that a lot of hair care products are unsafe, especially for women. Well, one mother was looking for the right products for her and her children, so she created Loxanity. Charmaine Jones created this company, a natural hair care and personal brand, offering more than 60 plant-based formulations designed to nourish and support both locks and loose natural hair. Charmaine joins us now from Coral Springs, Florida. Charmaine, glad to have you here. And so, all right, like 60 different ones. So how did you put all of this together? I mean, did you have a chemistry background? Were you Googling stuff and going on YouTube? How did you start and create Loxanity? I can't hear you. Is she muted? Because I can't hear her. Keenan, let me know. Yeah, I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we got you. Go ahead.
Thank you for having me, Roland. First and foremost, I don't know if you remember, but I had an opportunity to meet you at the Hope Conference a couple years ago. And so I'm glad that, things have come full circle and I'm here to spend some time with you today.
Cool.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said cool. Go ahead.
All right. So as far as how I came up with the Loxanity, it was really, really quite an adventure that I went on. I actually came from corporate America. I spent about 25 years working in a variety of different industries in corporate America, everything from manufacturing to software. And so the question that you asked, how does someone end up, making lock hair care products? It's a combination of the background that I had, but it really comes down to when I have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. And when my oldest daughter hit, middle school and, she's going through the time where she's trying to figure out who she is and, what her definition of beauty is. And at the time I was working in corporate America, high level position, and I wore my hair very, very straight, similar to what it is now, but it was not in its natural state. It was permed hair. And so every single day, Alicia would see me get dressed and, I'd put on my best Kamala Harris suit. And, I would, lay my hair down and everything and just look very, very corporate and very, very polished in her eyes. And so she started to aspire to that beauty standard. And I remember one day, middle school, she came home one day and she said, I want my hair to be straight like yours. And when I say, Roland, that just absolutely broke my heart, because here I am trying to teach this beautiful, beautiful girl about how beautiful she is, about how beautiful her kinks and her curls and, her afro and her afro puffs and her loose natural, how all of this is beautiful. And she was seeing me every single day, getting dressed, straightening my hair, putting on my suit. She was seeing that as the beauty standard. And so it was at that point, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start living in the truth that I'm preaching. And I converted over to my loose natural and eventually into locks. Now, when I got locks, that's when it really started to become fun, because at the time, this was back in 2017, I could not find good, natural, plant-based products. And so I did what most Black women will do when you're trying to find something, you problem solve. And so I started making my own products in my kitchen at nights and weekends. And, fast forward, I got a few products that were working really, really well. And, I'm talking to my husband about the challenges and, how come no one has ever, come up with this? And how come there's none of these products available? And, we decided, you know what? Well, maybe the world's waiting on you. Maybe you're the reason, you're the one that everything has been waiting for. And so I started working with an organic chemist to formalize my ingredients, my formulas, and just come up with some amazing products. And every single one of these products that you do see they came out of a need. They came out of a need that I had. They came out of a need that friends had, that family members had, and everything has just all been a labor of love, something that I created for myself, for my family, for my loved ones.
Wow, that's cool there. And you started when?
2017 is when we started.
2017. So now you're in your 9th year, and how has it grown?
Oh, it's grown exponentially. It's so at the time when I first started the company, I did mention I was working in corporate America. And at the time I was working with an e-commerce company and I was working full time, very demanding job. I was in director level position. So I was in charge of their warehousing, their customer care, just had a huge umbrella. And so I was working 80 hours a week. And then I would come home on nights, weekends, holidays, anytime that I had a free moment, I would work on Loxanity. Fast forward a couple years, the company started to hit a little bit of a rough patch. And being that I was one of those folks that was well paid, they said, you know what, Charmaine, we're going to part ways with you. And that's when things really took off, because I was able to take my 25 years of experience in manufacturing and software and IT, and I was then able to pour all of it into this little baby that I had created, Loxanity.
Wow, that's cool there. Let's questions from my panel. Nola, what you got?
Hey, so thank you. Where are the products? Okay, I'm assuming that they're in, you can buy them online, but
yes,
no,
stores,
you can buy the products are available at shopblackstarnetwork.com, Nola. This is the shop.
I'm gonna be nice. It's a new year.
Nola, this
I wasn't done with my question.
Nola, this is the shopblackstarnetwork.com segment.
Thank you.
So the products are available at shopblackstarnetwork.com.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you. In addition, are your products available in a brick and mortar store somewhere? In addition
to being able to get them here, you are able to, of course, get them in some of the more traditional e-commerce options, of course, also our website. And we do have quite a few beauty supply store, also locticians that do carry our products in brick and mortar stores across the country. About 2 years ago, we had been accepted to be inside of Walmart, and then the current administration happened and they got rid of DEI and we were chopped. We were left on red, no responses, no emails, nothing else. And you know what? I think it's for the best, because now we've been able to really look at a lot of different options. And one of our favorite folks to work with are the mom and pops, the Black-owned mom and pops, because we try to give them the same margins that they would have gotten had we sold to Walmart. And so they're able to really push our stuff, make an amazing profit on all of our products, and we're getting good quality products into the hands of our people. And so it's a complete win-win for us.
And so for the folks watching, Nola as well, that when you buy Loxanity from shopblackstarnetwork.com, you're supporting them, but you're also supporting the show as well. Greg.
Thank you, Roland, and Nola as well. And Sister James, it's always a delight in this segment to see Black-owned businesses that are serving our people, not only providing products we want, but products we need. And this again, Loxanity is another one in that string, in that chain. Along the lines of what Nola has just asked and what you just said, in fact, because of your background and your experience dealing with systems and understanding systems, how important is it to have that critical mass of Black institutions and Black networks? I'll tell you why I asked you that question. The other day I was in the mall. I went over there to pick up some shoes, and I walked past the beauty supply store, and I said, I haven't had the occasion of going to a beauty supply store. I don't even remember the last time. It's probably been decades. But I went in there just to look, and I'm like, wow. Now clearly we don't own the supply network, the chain. But I'm looking on the shelf, and one of the things that caught my eye was Bronner Brothers. I said, oh, there's Bronner Brothers. Now, of course, there was a time when Black folk actually controlled the politics and the economics of our hair. You're in Atlanta. You're part of that, like say you with the Global Hope Forum, and you're part of that network. How important is it for us to be able to go from beginning to end, as you call yourself an accidental entrepreneur, but driven by necessity, like Madam C.J. Walker was? Yeah. You say, okay, I'm going to do this. But then when I looked on your website, I'm looking around, I see this supply chain blooming, and you're literally connecting with Black folk. And it just makes me happy, because this maybe is why I say one other thing about this. And please just, anywhere you want to talk about this, please do. You know, a lot of my students at Howard now, I see them even in the conservative school of business with locks. Former students used to go to Hampton and say, you got to cut your locks. Now they can wear the baby locks. And I'm saying, with this blossoming, is this an opportunity to recapture a market that we didn't concede, but in many ways was kind of taken with us? Any thoughts about any of that?
Yes, you are spot on. You know, when it comes down to it, it really comes down to us maintaining our community and how much of the funds, of the money that we work very, very hard for, how much of it can we really retain and circulate in our economy. And so, you know, when it comes to, you know, take our company, for example, the folks that work here look like me. So that means I'm able to provide good paying jobs in the South Florida market, which for anyone that knows South Florida, you know that it is pricey. But I'm able to employ people that look like me, give them good paying jobs so they're able to support their families, provide for their families. And in addition to that, I'm also able to then control who am I purchasing from. So for my raw ingredients, first and foremost, I'm looking for Black-owned, minority-owned companies whenever I can find them. I'm purchasing from them because I'm now taking my money and I'm putting it into their pots. And then they're then, of course, going to circulate it more in our community. So it all really comes down to how can we keep as much of our money, which everyone knows money is power. How can we keep as much of our money in our own economy and circulate it? And this is one of the ways that we've been able to do that. And so, you know, when I have conversations with, you know, my children and I'm trying to teach them about what does it take in order to build our community, in order to make it so that our communities are more self-sufficient, it comes down to dollars and cents. You know, the people that I hire to manage my social media look like me. So here you have, you know, folks that are not, you know, did not even think that at one point that they were going to be a part of this ecosystem or not part of the ecosystem, because when I'm making hiring decisions and I'm deciding which vendors, which suppliers, who am I going to use for different services, I'm first and foremost looking for folks that look like me.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we partnered to create shopblackstarnetwork.com to be able to do these segments, connecting our audience with Black-owned companies. And so, folks, if you want to check out Loxanity products, simply go to shop.blackstarnetwork.com. Let me say that again, Nola, just in case you missed that. And so, if you want to get these products, you go to shop.blackstarnetwork.com. And if you go to the website, you will see Loxanity, the products right there. Just click right there. You see the full collection. And again, when you support the show, you're supporting the Black-owned company. You're supporting this Black-owned company as well. So, Charmaine, we appreciate it. Good luck.
And before I leave, Roland, I would be remiss if I did not mention one of the things that I'm always told to make sure that I do speak up and say something. Today, you see our panel. We have two gentlemen, and men make up half of the population, yet there are virtually no products out there for you guys. We actually have an entire collection that we've created just for the fellas. It's called Bold by Loxanity. So I had to throw that in there before you kick me off.
Well, I don't think me and Greg can worry about that, but I'm sure Mustafa and Omen Congo.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You all have skin, don't you?
Yeah.
Say again?
You have skin, right?
Okay, well, see what you said, locks. You talking about locks? You didn't say the skin part. You didn't say skin.
Like that. So
no. You talking about hair.
This is good though.
So we have a little bit of everything. So not only for your hair, that's only a part of it. We also have body wash. We also there you go. You have the.
You didn't say none of that,
Charmaine. And I am going to get in so much trouble with my team.
Charmaine, let me help you out, Charmaine. When you're selling, you got to say all of that. The whole setup was talking just about hair.
Yeah.
Greg, Nola,
yep.
No,
that was it.
You are correct. You are. Yeah. I'll get better at this. I'll have to come back the next time so that I can talk about.
So you got products for hair. You got products for skin. You got body wash.
That's not what I heard, but okay.
Yes, we offer products.
Nola, all you heard was brick and mortar.
That's not what I heard, sis. I'm gonna go ahead and support you. That's not what I heard.
You
I
lying. You know
you
exactly
didn't
what
even
you
have to
heard.
come back and say, "Oh yeah."
You lying. Nola, stop trying to dig
got y'all
yourself
too.
out.
You didn't even have
Whatever.
to do that. Don't listen to him. I got
yes,
you.
You did. Yes, you did, because I'm looking at the chat right now, Nola. Like you, I see everything. And yes, brothers are sitting here saying, all right, what
about me?
Now that you said skin products, now folk like, cool.
See,
now I got
you come back and you say, brothers, we ain't forget about you, and look what they do. Girl, I'm sorry. I got you though. My lactician got you too.
No, but even when she said, brothers, we ain't forget about you, she ain't talking, but she was only hair. I'm just saying.
We have you all covered. We have you all covered from head to toe. Even I see you have a beautiful
you still got
beard.
hair.
We even have a beard collection.
Oh, yeah. And this is only, normally I do not. First of all, I hate wearing my beard. So I have not shaved in 3 weeks. So it's actually a bet. Somebody said, can I actually go a month without trimming my beard?
Wow.
And trust me, it's driving me crazy. I normally prefer, it's driving me crazy. I prefer, like, I'm trying to win the bet, but I prefer to have it trimmed all the way down. I have never gone this long without trimming my beard. Never.
We're gonna have to send you some of the beard cure kit. That way you could fall in love with it, and it looks very distinguished.
It does.
So I get you, but I'm trying to win the bet to see how long. Trust me, at least 10 times a day, I'm like, I can grab one of these 3 clippers and just bring that sucker down. So I'm struggling not to do it when I wake up every morning. All right, Charmaine, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch, folks. Lock Sandy. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com to check the products out. We appreciate it. Good luck. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
I text John Hope Bryant with Operation Hope and told him you were on. So he said he was watching the segment as well. I would appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, Brittany Noble, you ready with Black Star Network headlines? Is Brittany ready? Somebody talk to me. I guess Brittany ain't ready with headlines. Let me go to a break.
I'm ready.
All right, I call your name 3 times.
I'm here. I mean, I was here for the conversation. I like the beard, but I'm ready for headlines.
Wait, y'all sitting here. We're going to go to a break, and then we'll be right back. Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble.
Fair enough.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just 2 millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Melanie Campbell, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. And we are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered all day, every day, 24/7. Spread the word.
All right, folks, time for Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble.
Roland, Detroit homicides dropped for the first time in 6 decades. The city recorded 165 criminal homicides in 2025, the fewest since the city had 125 homicides back in 1964. Non-fatal shootings also declined from 607 to 447 last year. The police chief says what we're doing in Detroit is working. He credits the Gun Violence Reduction Partnership, the Shot Stoppers program, police initiatives, and technology for the shift. Also in Detroit, a man wrongfully convicted and awarded $1 million has been ordered to return the money. Desmond Ricks spent 25 years in prison for the 1993 murder of Gary Bennett. Ricks was later exonerated and offered more than $1 million under Michigan's Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act, which was passed in 2017. He received about $50,000 per year of his prison time. Now he must repay Michigan the money following a separate civil settlement tied to his wrongful conviction. That settlement is coming from the city of Detroit, which agreed to pay Rick $7.5 million to resolve a lawsuit alleging police misconduct. But the state says that he should not be getting money from both the city and the state, clarifying that it's the city's responsibility. Although Ricks has received some funding, exonerees still receive relatively few payouts. The Department of Justice is suing Arizona and Connecticut. It comes as officials in both states are defending their decision to refuse the DOJ's request to release voter information. Arizona Secretary Adrian Fontes says releasing the voter records would violate state and federal law. The DOJ is currently suing 23 other states to obtain data. State officials are pushing back, saying that releasing voter information violates federal privacy law, which protects individual data from public disclosure or government use. Also, Donald Trump is asking for more than $6.2 million in attorney fees and costs from the Fulton County District's Attorney's Office. It stems from the recently dismissed election interference case brought against him and others. Last year, Georgia lawmakers passed a law that says if a prosecutor is disqualified from a case and it's dismissed, anyone in that case that's charged is entitled to request attorney fees and costs incurred. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis was removed from the case over a romantic relationship that she had with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. If the judge overseeing the case grants the request, fees and costs are paid from the prosecutor's office budget. Senate Democrats seek to ban taxpayer-funded payouts to Capitol rioters. Lawmakers are introducing a new legislation called No Settlements for 5 January 6 Law Enforcement Assaulters Act. It will prevent taxpayer money from being awarded to convicted and now pardoned rioters. The bills would outlaw the establishment of any compensation fund to pay rioters. The other piece would stop the use of federal tax money to pay for civil legal settlements against January 6 defendants who were convicted of assaulting police. The DOJ has already approved a nearly $5 million settlement to the family of Ashley Babbitt. She was shot and killed by a Capitol police officer while she breached a smashed window in the House Speaker's lobby. Well, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds NPR, PBS, and many other local radio and TV stations, is officially shutting down. It comes months after Congress passed spending cuts that stripped the company of more than $1 billion in funding. CPB's board of directors voted to dissolve the private nonprofit corporation after 58 years of service. Over the summer, the Republican-led House and Senate passed a package of funding cuts. In it, CPB and other government agencies were targeted, meaning the money that Congress had previously allocated to them would be cut to fulfill a request by the Trump administration. Created in 1967 by Congress, CPB helped support more than 1,500 local radio and TV stations nationwide. Roland.
All right. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks. That is it for us. Let me thank Noah. Let me thank Greg for being on today's panel. Thank you so very much. And just as a reminder, Nola, when we have shopblackstarnetwork.com guests, we're trying to push people to go to shopblackstarnetwork.com.
There's the look.
So that way, if they buy the products from shopblackstarnetwork.com, then they also support the show. If they buy the products elsewhere, then there's no benefit for us at the Black Star Network. So hence the site shopblackstarnetwork.com. That's why your mic is muted. See, you're talking all that shit.
It was muted right there. Actually,
you're talking all that. You're talking all that shit, and your damn mic was muted.
I'm glad it was, because I'm gonna go ahead with the rest of my day in peace.
You were trying to be petty and be shady.
I'm being petty. You
and
stopped the whole show to readdress
all we saw was this here.
Good night. Good
That's
night,
all
boys.
we saw was red lipstick smacking. That's all we saw. All right. Somebody said, ask Nola about her gumbo. No, because she can't cook.
Oh.
All right. That's it.
Oh.
We got to go. Listen.
Y'all don't understand how triggering that is for my dead mama. Like, for real.
Oh.
Like, I'm not playing.
Oh.
That's triggering as hell.
When you gonna bring something to the studio?
When I can get in the kitchen and cook gumbo again, Roland.
State of the Union.
Because that's me and my mama's thing. This isn't just about.
You never cooked it by yourself?
Yes, Roland.
All the time. State of the Union is this month, right?
So we got State of the Union.
Y'all not about to bully me into a sacred thing for me and my mama.
What I'm saying, bring somebody to share.
I will when I feel like it, not until then. Period.
Right. Okay, all right. I try to make sure.
But I did make her plorines and they were bomb.
Oh,
what?
Pecan plorine.
Praline?
You heard what I said, and you heard how I said it, because that's how you say it.
I thought that's what she meant, but I don't.
I'm sorry. Did you say pralines?
I said pecan plorine.
Pecan
plorine. I said pecan plorine.
Plorine. Can you spell plorine?
Praline. Now you want me to spell it the New Orleans way?
Uh-oh.
Because I can spell it the New Orleans way for you.
I'm sorry. Did you say it's spelled PRA, but you put the L in front of the R?
This man over here making fun of all of us. So I need y'all to be.
No, I'm not. I've never heard.
To tell him. I've never heard that. I've never heard plorine. Thank you very much. I'm about to go and eat my plorine.
I've heard of chlorine. I never heard of plorine.
Oh, okay. Well,
unless I know a lot of people from New Orleans.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people.
One is sitting here, right here.
I ain't never heard of plorine.
Okay.
Well, I want some.
I ain't never heard.
Well, you just heard
it. Okay, all right. Okay. Maybe we'll get those on shopblackstarnetwork.com. We're gonna go back to the bit. All right. Thanks a bunch. We say goodbye to Reese, Nola, Holla, Greg, Holla. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks. That is it for us. Be sure to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute to us, please do so if you want to use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right there. Click the Cash App pay button to contribute. You can also use this for credit cards as well. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Check some money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Guys, we're using the wrong graphic because we don't have it make payable to on this graphic. So that's the wrong graphic we're using. So let's fix it tomorrow. Make payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku as Samsung Smart TV. Also, folks, if you want to get our Black Star Network, Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, Nola. Shopblackstarnetwork.com to get our hats, hoodies, and all that good stuff. Also, the Black-owned companies that we support, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can see them there as well. As I said, fan base, about $120,000 left to hit their goal of 17 million in the raise. If you want to, first of all, download the app. So got some great features. But if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. All right, y'all, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Oh!